Good evening to all. Welcome to this interesting session that we have today with Mr. Parag Bhalerao at our Vitthal Mandir uh, various sessions that we try to do here. So, Parag Bhalerao has been a big volunteer of our temple. He is the person who created and also teaches our Bal Samskar Varga, and he has been dedicated, apart from having a very busy career in the information technology industry. He spends a lot of time reading and studying about the Bharatiya Dnyana Parampara. He is also a trained priest who performs various pujas at our mandir, as well as visiting the residences of people as and when needed. So today we are very fortunate to have Parag with us. Parag ji, welcome.
Namaste. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. And thank you for arranging this session. I'm very excited, not just because I'm going to be speaking, we will be interacting quite a bit, but the topic itself is very interesting and very important. So I'm really looking forward to this session today.
Sure. No, it's a big thing. Many of us are aware, of course, but I'll briefly say that Indian knowledge system as a terminology started becoming popular about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And as with everything else, all the three words, Indian, knowledge, and system, do not do any justice to what it really is. So instead of Indian knowledge system, when we say Bharatiya Dnyana Parampara, each of those words has got a much deeper meaning than its English counterpart. But for the sake of convenience, we'll use Indian knowledge system, or now it is called Bharatiya knowledge system by many people. So, Paragji, let me start with a very, very foundational question. What is IKS? What do you see as the scope or the starting point and the ending point in terms of time period for what we broadly classify now as the Indian knowledge system?
Very, very good question. And I think it is a foundation question. In my honest opinion, there is no one definition that will fit. The reason being, it is, as you rightly said, it is a Jnana Parampara. So it is a tradition, it is a dynasty, it is set and then it has been evolving over thousands of years. So obviously, different people have different perspectives, different people have different experiences, different people have different awareness about this whole system or this whole concept, IKS or BKS, whichever way we call it. But with that said, in my opinion, this entire concept of knowledge and the knowledge parampara, it goes back to Vedic era. We all believe that Veds are foundation, Veds are basis for everything that we know, we do, we understand today. And that foundation has evolved. So the basic concepts, the core concepts are there, which are documented thousands of years ago. And then different people have made different commentaries, different perspectives, different elaborations, and so on and so forth. So it continued to evolve. And if you ask me when is the
just 1 second. Mukta here just said that she's not able to hear anything. So let me make sure that people are able to hear. So, Dr. Nutan Nadkarni, can you unmute yourself and tell us whether you are able to hear this conversation?
Okay, Pravinji is saying he can hear us.
हॅलो नमस्कार, मी नूतन नाडकर्णी बोलते. मला व्यवस्थित सगळं ऐकू येतंय.
Okay. Acha, Mukta is saying that she will probably try to come back again. Okay, very good. Everybody is able to hear. Okay. Yeah. Sorry to
So,
stop you, Parag. Please go ahead.
so you asked me two aspects, the beginning and the end. And honestly, I don't think we can define either of those, because origin, we can call it as Vedic knowledge is the origin or foundation. But when it started, there are predictions. Different people have used different mechanisms to estimate when Veds were written. But again, there is no concrete answer to that. And as far as end is concerned, again, I don't think there is an end. Because even today, if we look at any discussion which is oriented towards Sanatan philosophy, it all again, the foundation stays the Vedic knowledge, the Vedic concepts, and of course, evolved over thousands of years. Even today, different people are interpreting Veds or any aspect of our literature in many different ways, applying it in different ways in different contexts. So it is evolving, and in my opinion, it will continue to evolve. I don't think it will be appropriate to say that this is the end. Maybe, the Upanishads are end, or Purans are end, or whatever the Santa Vangmaya that we can think of, that is the end. I don't think it is appropriate to call it that way. And because of that reason, in my opinion, it's difficult to define what is the end. Rather, there is no end. It is a flow. It is a parampara. It will
Yes.
continue.
I think that is where the word parampara becomes important, that
Right.
it shows that it is continuous. And that's very important, Paragji. In fact, I appreciate your answer on two reasons. One is that there is no end really, because this is a parampara that is ongoing. So if we take, Gajanan Maharaj Pothi, that is relatively recent, but it is still part of this parampara. So there is no need to separate it as such.
Mhm.
So that's very good. And continuing on this same thought, people are broadly familiar with our system of knowledge in the sense of Vedas and Puran and Itihas and some basic things. But if people have to really get a good understanding of what this whole treasure house is, what is its structure, where should they start?
That's a very interesting question, and little bit tricky question. I was not expecting this question, honestly. Uh, Again, where to start, it becomes very difficult, because it depends on everybody's level of maturity, level of commitment, level of awareness, level of knowledge that they already have, right? So it all combines and defines where to stand, and also where to start, and also depends on where they want to end, what they want to accomplish. Uh, if somebody wants to start studying Ved, it is a great thing, but it is very difficult. Maybe Upanishads might be a good start. Puran might be good start. Definitely the Itihas Grantha, Mahabharata and Ramayana, wealth of knowledge. But even if we think that that is in Sanskrit, and I cannot understand Sanskrit, I cannot really comprehend it properly, then there are so many translations available. So many, if we just go to YouTube and keep on looking out, there are so many lectures, so many talks, so many details available. Also, there are a lot of modern authors who have tried to simplify the knowledge, or rather present it in the current context, which also becomes very important. There are so many organizations that are uh, providing a platform for us to start the journey. And of course, not to undermine, but Vitthal Mandir, even if it's one of the newest that I know, uh, very aggressive and wonderful platform. And the thing I like about Vitthal Mandir organization, it's a very open, it is new, so it is not set in concrete. It is not set in terms of thought process, that okay, this is what we are going to do. This is the only thing we are going to do. very, very open. So all of us, all of you who are on the call today, feel free to provide suggestions, guidance, or whatever you want, ask for, and I'm sure we'll try to arrange some way to get the answer or facilitate that answer for you. And of course, so many other organizations. I don't want to name any particular to advertise or promote any organization, but there are so many, and anything you can start with. Only thing is, once we start, we need to know where we are starting, where we want to go, and stay consistent with it. Many times we get started, we spend some time, we listen to a couple of lectures, read a couple of books, and sometimes we feel that we are stuck, or sometimes we feel it is all irrelevant. What's the point? Again, I'm taking a generic example. We start reading Bhagavad Gita, and we read a couple of chapters. We read entire Bhagavad Gita, and we think, okay, what does it do to me? Some war happened thousands of years ago between two brothers or two families, and Arjun didn't want to fight, and Krishna encouraged him to fight. How does it relate to me? What does it mean to me? I'm not on a battlefield, right? I'm not denying to fight my daily battles, but definitely I'm not on a battlefield. Why should I read Bhagavad Gita, and what does it even tell me? So that is where it becomes very, very interesting. At the same time, very, very challenging to understand different scriptures, different books, different teachings in right context. If we try to keep everything in the original context, it sometimes becomes very difficult. And then it becomes boring, and then people lose the interest and they get off the track. But if we find right source, right guru, right teacher, right books, right material, and we are willing to make commitments, it is possible. Also, as I said, it is important for us to keep an open mind, make an attempt and interpret different things in our own way, and then discuss with somebody else, or understand somebody's perspective, but then again interpret it in our own way. Because every time you read any scripture, and again, for the sake of discussion, I'll mention Bhagavad Gita, same verse of Bhagavad Gita, same shlok in Bhagavad Gita, different people can read and understand different things from same exact shlok for multiple reasons. The scripture itself is such a way that depending on your mindset, it will give you different vision, different perspective. The second aspect also important is a lot of these texts are in Sanskrit, and in Sanskrit, single word can have multiple meanings. When I was writing my book, I was referring to dictionary quite a bit. And I saw there are words where one word has maybe 17, 18, 20, 22 meanings. Which meaning should we consider? That again becomes very interesting, because we have to again understand the context, in which context that word is used, and then try to interpret or try to use the right meaning. If we use generic meaning or most popular meaning or the conventional meaning, we might end up in different track or in different destination, and we'll be wondering, what does it even mean? Why are we even reading it, right? But if we keep it in right context and make an attempt to understand it in right context, it gives us wealth and wealth of information. I'm not sure if that's what you are asking, but
No, yeah, we'll continue the conversation. I'm not asking questions with, a binary kind of answer.
right,
I
right.
want to,
Yeah, it's very
because you
difficult.
are
I mean,
here
there are
today, and we want to make the best use of your time that you have given us today. So I want to move to your body of work now. But before that, you used a couple of words in your last response. Context and relevance, and does something resonate with me? Like Bhagavad Gita, does it really resonate with me in terms of who am I today? So there is an interesting thing that I heard from a friend of mine who is a professor of science here, an American gentleman, and well studied about our scriptures and a lot of our Sanskrit books as well. So we hear, and all of us know, that many of our people get rather agitated when they talk about our parampara and say that, what do you know, when you guys were staying in caves, we had such an advanced civilization, and Prabhu Ramchandra had an aeroplane, and Ravana came in an aeroplane, and an aeroplane came to fetch Sant Tukaram to his abode in the heavens. So he made a very interesting observation, which I wanted to put in front of you and, in fact, all our people today, because I think it provides an excellent way of looking at our parampara and what are we supposed to do with it. He said that, you guys don't need to fight or shout or present. You have got such great science and you had aeroplanes and this and that. Why can't you all educated people come together and build an aeroplane and tell the world that this aeroplane has been built using Vedic mathematics and Vedic science, and fly it? You don't have to say anything to anybody. So I think that's a wonderful way of looking at it. So I think we'll keep coming back to this in terms of how to employ what we learn from our parampara into our current life, or how do we make it more, sort of more full by giving it a context. So with this, Paragji, we will turn to your body of work. So your first book,
For that,
you wrote
I'd
about.
like to make one quick comment about what you just said. It's very, very important. And we say that, yes, we had aeroplanes, we had all kind of weaponry, we had this, that, everything. And somebody says, okay, where is it? Show me. Then we start fumbling because we have no answer, or we have no, in current context, what we call it as evidence. We don't have any solid evidence or a proof. Okay, this is the plane, go fly it, right? But with that said, there have been several attempts being made. We are becoming more and more aware, more and more conscious, more and more interested in learning from different scriptures, experimenting those and putting that knowledge out. I don't have names handy. I was not prepared for this, but I heard a lecture about an aeronautics scientist. She's from India, and she talked about how the engines defined in different scriptures and the current aeroplanes, how those are similar, and how those propelling mechanisms and what are the technical terms in that context. And she explained it so beautifully with references to different texts, right?
Yes, sir.
When I was studying Purusha Sukta, I came across somebody who used or who decoded some mantra from Purusha Sukta and built a cell in the sense like a battery to generate power. So there are so many people making different
Yes.
attempts, and we just need to be conscious, aware. We also need to contribute best of our knowledge, abilities, and so on.
I'm going to unmute Shobhaji, and Shobhanaji, she wanted to ask something to you.
Sure.
Shobhanaji, please go ahead.
थँक्यू. मला काही विचारायचं नाहीये, पण आता जो विषय चाललाय ना, त्या संबंधी अगदी कालचीच बातमी म्हणा ना, असं भारतातली एक बातमी तुम्हाला सांगायची की उज्जैन शहरात वैदिक घड्याळ बसवण्यात आलेलं आहे. पूर्वीचं वैदिक घड्याळ व्यवस्थित चालू असलेलं मोदीजींनी एका टॉवरवर बसवलंय, पण त्याच्यात सुधारणा आजच्या युगाला धरून अशी केली की ते वैदिक घड्याळ डिजिटल सुद्धा केलंय, आणि ते डिजिटल घड्याळ आपल्या सगळ्यांच्या मोबाईलवर आपण कनेक्ट करू शकतो जगात कुठेही. तर आता ते घड्याळ काय काय सांगतं, तर आपले 24 तास असतात तर तिथे 30 तास दाखवलेत पूर्वीचे वैदिक कालीन, आणि 30 आणि सनराईज आणि सनसेटचे बरोबर टायमिंग सांगतात, आणि वेगवेगळे मुहूर्त पण सांगतात, आणि बरंच जे मी आता घेतलं तर अख्खा तास जाईल, त्यापेक्षा मी तुम्हाला फॉरवर्ड करू शकते. कुठे फॉरवर्ड करू?
मी आपल्या स्क्रीनवरती हे टाकीन, ईमेल आयडी मंदिराची, तुम्ही नक्की फॉरवर्ड करा.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Parag, going back to you.
या सगळ्यामध्ये
Uh,
तुम्ही म्हणताय ते बरोबर आहे शोभनाताई. या सगळ्यामध्ये प्रॉब्लेम कुठे सुरू झाला अर्थात हे माझ्या ज्ञानाने किंवा माझं जे काही अवेअरनेस आहे ते आय थिंक आय शुड नॉट स्विच बॅक. सम पीपल आर देअर हू don't probably understand Marathi. Okay, so based on my understanding, my awareness, my study, the major hit we started taking after British invasion. Till then, yes, there were invasions, there were issues, but when Britishers came, they started colonizing. Their whole philosophy was to show that you are so inferior. What you call your culture, what you call your religion, what you call as your knowledge, what you call as your temples, your books, your scriptures, it's all absolute meaningless. And they were
that was very conscious.
right, and they were appearance wise, they were very polished, very sophisticated, and of course, color wise, very fair. So we started feeling inferior, we started believing in them, and we accepted our own wealth of knowledge as meaningless. And that is
Yes, absolutely.
the major decline started at that point. And today, unless something goes back from Bharat to Western countries and they endorse it, so to say, and send it back to us, we don't believe it.
I think the purpose, even the discussion that we are having today, it's a very, very small step exactly in that intention or direction, that we start liberating our minds and start seeing things as they are. We don't need to be offensive, we don't need to be defensive, we just need to know the truth. And that's, I think, the most beautiful part of this whole Indian knowledge system that is now becoming more prominent for a lot of people, because there are going to be youngsters here who are going to be doctors, who are going to be physicists, and they are going to have great opportunities to connect their modern knowledge, take it back to what we have, and provide some insights to the world. I think that's going to be the biggest opportunity. Okay, so we will move on to your work now, Paragji. Let us start with Purusha Suktam. How did that idea come to your mind? How did you feel the need for that? And how many years the book is now in print? What kind of feedback you had from people?
Okay, thanks for bringing that topic up. So why did I think about it? How did I think about it? Again, there is no specific answer, but as I was studying through different scriptures, different aspects or different suktas or hymns or mantras, I came across Purusha Sukta, and couple of things I understood about Purusha Sukta which triggered my interest. One is Purusha Sukta is the only sukta which appears in every Veda. There are some variations in different Vedas, but in its entirety, I see the screen change.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was one part. Secondly, most of the rituals that we do, not all, but most of the rituals, they follow Purusha Sukta. They're based on Purusha Sukta. And thirdly, it is assumed, it is accepted that Purusha Sukta talks about creation of the universe. So when I came across these 3 pointers, I started studying and understanding every possible book or YouTube lecture that I could get my arms around. I read. Everybody said Purusha Sukta talks about creation of the universe, but I did not find anybody talking about how Purusha Sukta talks about creation of universe. All the lectures, all the books were more on spiritual or religious side and less on scientific side. And that is where I said, no, it cannot happen. If everybody is accepting, if the Sukta claims that it is talking about creation of the universe, there has to be some very scientific and practical information in that Sukta which talks about creation of universe. And then I tried to read further, understand further, and that is where the aspect of using your own intuition, using your own interpretations becomes very, very important. had I studied Purusha Sukta with interpretations of others alone, I would not have found much. But when I started interpreting with the context, what is the context? Creation of the universe. Now, any analysis we do, we have to keep that context in mind. If we divert from that context and go into religious aspect, spiritual aspects, ritualistic aspects, then we lose the context. And that is what many times it happens. So if we keep the context in mind and try to interpret every single word, every possible meaning of every single word, and bring it back to that context, slowly we can solve the puzzle. Slowly things uncover. How it happens, I have no idea. How it came to my mind, I have no idea. It is some, divine inspiration, I would say. But it took a lot of effort, lot of energy, lot of, going back and forth. Dictionary was huge help. Understand different meanings, different interpretations, applying those and seeing what fits well in that context, so on and so forth. It took about, I would say, 3 years roughly to complete that digging and finding of about 10 mantras, and then publishing that book.
So can you take an example of maybe a shlok, a charan, even a single word, whatever you like, as to what was the traditional interpretation which people had, and what new thing that you realized and you wanted to put in front of the world?
Sure. Can you give me sharing permissions? I'll like to share
Sure.
slide which might be relevant here. So those who know Purusha Sukta, the Purusha Sukta first mantra, it starts with Sahasra Shirsha. I think you are sharing.
No, not
I
this.
don't have permission
One
to
second.
share.
Yeah, 1 second. I have to make you try now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, just once confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
So if you are aware, this is the first mantra in Purusha Sukta. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad Sa Bhumim Vishwato Vrutva Atyatishthad Dashangulam. And what I have given on the right side is a traditional meaning. There is this being, a god, Parmeshwar, whatever you call it. He has thousands of heads. He has thousands of eyes, thousands of legs, and he covers the entire uh, earth, entire world, entire universe, whatever, and extends beyond that. Now, how is it possible that a being has 1,000 heads? Then traditional meanings, traditional interpretations say, oh, no. The God, the Parmeshwar, is within all of us. So all of our heads are his heads. And we are thousands of us, countless humans or even other creatures. So all those heads are his heads. So that is what thousands of heads means. Okay, fine. How does it relate to creation of the universe? No answer. Right? Then if he has 1,000 heads, how does he have 1,000 eyes? Then he should have 2,000 eyes. In most creatures, there are 2 eyes. So again, I started challenging myself. I didn't challenge anybody else. I started challenging myself. What does it mean? And then I realized, it's like a spark. I realized that, no, it is not talking about any being, any physical heads, any such thing. It is clearly explaining the phenomena of creation of the universe, which is most popular or most commonly accepted even today. If you ask anybody, what is the most popular theory of creation of the universe? And all of you are on mute, but I'm sure most of you will answer Big Bang. Right? Big Bang theory is the most common, most popular, most widely accepted theory. And you will be surprised if we interpret this mantra properly. That is exactly what the mantra is talking about. What does Big Bang say? We won't go into the Big Bang theory, but it says that there was a huge explosion through which the universe came about. That's what Big Bang says, right? And it's a huge theory, but I'm just trying to recap in one line. Now, when the explosion happens, what happens? All of us have seen firecracker explosions in Diwali or whatever, right? What happens? From that explosion, thousands of sparks come out. And what happens to those sparks? They get thrown away from the original explosion. That is exact description in this mantra. Sahasra Shirsha, at the beginning of the universe, and that this whole concept of explosion is also coming in different parts of Rigveda. They call it as Abhu, and how that Abhu got compressed and what happened. But anyway, at that point of explosion, thousands of objects got created. When they say Sahasra does not mean 1,000, it means thousands of or countless. Now, there are three attributes described in first line. One is Shirsha or head. Second is Aksha or eyes. And Pada, which is legs. Again, if I start questioning myself, why did these rishis talk about only these three aspects? Why did they not talk about nose and ears and hands and tummy and whatever, so many other things, right? Why only these three? When we start questioning, the answers will start coming. So when the explosion happened, thousands of objects got created. All these objects were distinct from each other. They had their own existence, their own identity. This individuality, this unique identity is indicated by head. Even today, if we say in a party, we say, oh, there were 100 heads. That means there are 100 people. Or when we talk about contribution, we say, we are charging $20 per head. So what does it mean? You're going to charge only for head and not for hands? No, it is individual. It is distinct person for which we are identifying that entity by word head. So that unique identity, the individuality, separation from the rest is indicated by the word Shirsha or head or Shirsha. Then next attribute is Aksha. What do eyes signify? They signify shine, luster. So obviously these objects, they came out of explosion, so they were bright, shining, glowing objects. So that aspect of glowing is indicated by the word Aksha. And what do legs indicate? Legs indicate motion, right? So since they were created out of explosion and they got thrown away from the explosion, they are in motion. They were in motion, and even today they are in motion. So that motion is indicated by the words legs. So it talks about at the beginning of the universe, there was an explosion. Through that explosion, thousands of unique individual objects got created, which were glowing, shining, and moving away. Now, if you interpret this in the context of creation, you will, we start realizing different message, different interpretation, different meaning of these mantras. And this is just an example, and I can, go on and on, especially on to.
No, this is good. No, thank you very much, Paragji. Yeah, so it tells all of us what is the approach that you have taken to this study. And I think that is exactly what I wanted to understand from you. So, okay, do you still need to show the screen, or we can go back?
I can go back.
Okay.
Depending on the questions, I will share again.
Yeah, you can do it again. Very good. This is good. So let me continue on this conversation. So when you say Purusha Suktam had a particular theme about creation of universe, and we wanted to pursue that properly, to present it in a rational way, that a modern mind or a youngster will be able to relate to, rather than saying that, oh my God, what kind of mumbo jumbo is this? I don't know what these guys are talking about. That typical reaction that we expect from many people. So this whole thing is now, coming into this category of Indian knowledge system or the Bharatiya knowledge system. So, okay, before I go to the IKS part of your work, uh, can you tell us a little bit about what reactions you received from people from different strata of society? Especially, I have heard that many educationists also spoke to you about it. So, if you can share that a little bit with all of us.
Yeah. So I got mixed reactions mostly, and if you look at my YouTube channel, people have commented, and you will see most comments are very, very positive, enlightening kind of experiences that they had, and they were very, very appreciative. There were a couple of people who were very, and I did get very nasty reactions also, and you will see those also in some of the YouTube recordings. Some of the people did not like my interpretations being different than Shankaracharya's interpretations, and questioned me, "Are you challenging Shankaracharya?" I said, "No, I'm nobody to challenge Shankaracharya. I'm just giving you my perception, my interpretations, depending on what you like, you can take. I'm not saying I'm right, and not Shankaracharya, but anybody else for that matter is wrong. I'm just saying in this context, this is how I interpreted it. If you like it, great. If you think it's not right, I mean, I don't get offended. You tell me, I will discuss." But yeah, but lot of or most of the comments or reactions were very, very positive, and people were happy to see that there are really some scientific aspects in so many common hymns or mantra that we regularly use.
Yes, I know so many people. In fact, we will talk some other day perhaps about it. But Nasadiya Suktam itself is supposed to be so deep, and probably touches on some of the themes that you have already worked on in Purusha Suktam. So I think we should have a separate conversation about that.
So Nasadiya
So,
Sukta, Purusha Sukta, and Narayan Sukta. There are three suktas that talk about creation in Vedic literature, and of course there are so many other literatures that have different references, but they tie back to one of these. And Nasadiya Sukta is more of a question oriented or wondering, okay, how is this? What is this kind of expressions? Whereas Purusha Sukta has more of statements.
Statements, yes, that is true. That is true. But whatever be the format of in a literary sense, I think the kind of questions they're able to throw up and then follow up with answers, it's absolutely mind-boggling, to say the least.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Okay.
And
So with this, sorry, go ahead.
But with this, I want to encourage all of us, honestly, to try to understand various things in practical and scientific context. Many times what happens is we study symbolism, for example, right? What is symbolism of Lord Ganesh? Or what is symbolism of Vishnu? What is symbolism of Shiva or Nataraj or whichever form? And we typically, most of the cases, you will end up people interpreting it in, pardon my words, but baseless way. They just try to focus on some ritualistic or religious aspect. Oh, no, Vishnu was great, and there was a snake, and snake is looking at him. And but what does that got to do with anything, right? So if we start challenging ourselves and try to find this, because this is where, when our kids challenge us, we have no answers. And when other people from other faiths, other belief systems challenge us, we have no answers. And that is where we lose faith in our own faith. Right? We lose faith in our own religions, our own upbringings.
In fact, a very interesting point, not losing faith in our own system or heritage. It is said, that asking a question doesn't require much intelligence. Anybody can stand up and say that, oh, Mr. Bhalerao, how do you prove that there is Ishwar? Right? It's a very simple thing. Anybody can ask that question. And nowadays with social media and all kinds of things, it has become so easy to ask questions without having any qualifications to ask. In our olden days, if you remember, when there used to be a conversation between people face to face, and even today, when you have a face to face conversation, there was this concept of whether do you have the adhikar to ask a question. Now
So
with
true.
social media and all kinds of things, you don't need any adhikar. You can just get up and start questioning anybody on anything. Answering that question is very difficult, but that is not their problem. So that's the level, playing field that is not level at all, that all of us need to remember. And like I keep telling all, whenever there is this kind of discussion, that we can not afford to be either offensive or defensive. We just need to be in the middle and make statements based on facts. That's the only way we can really, make any progress in this whole area. So coming back to your IKS work of last 3 to 4 years and the new book that you are going to publish soon about the IKS, what is the purpose of that book and how have you written that? Can you explain to us a little bit?
Sure, sure. So the new book that I'm about to publish, it gives us just more insights about our knowledge heritage. We all know that our knowledge heritage comes from Veda. Beyond that, some people know, okay, there are 4 Veds. Beyond that, oh, we don't know. Most cases, that is the situation. Unfortunate, but that is the fact. Right? If you ask anybody randomly, okay, name 4 Veds, I would say 50% people might be able to name all 4 Veds. But beyond that, if we ask them anything about what is there in Rig Veda or what is there in Yajurveda or Samaveda, most people have no clue. Also, they have no clue about what is the structure of this Vedic knowledge system. What is the Ved? What is Sanhita? What is Aranyak? What is Upanishad? Right? So they have absolute no clue. So my next book is very fundamentals of Vedic knowledge system. How are Veds structured? What do they talk about in terms of not in depth, but in terms of what topics or what aspects are covered in different Veds. So it is very fundamental, easy to understand for anybody kind of a book. So on Purusha Sukta, I did get few comments that it is too deep and little difficult to understand. So this one is going to be very, very simple. Like this graphic is from that book. So we say Veda, you will see that there are 4 Veds, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharva Veda. Then what are the components or aspects of Rig Veda? What are the branches of Yajurveda and further aspects of that? Same about Samaveda and then Atharva Veda. And then I have kind of an appendix that talks about Upaveda, what are the Upavedas and so on. But primarily, this what you see on this screen, the elaboration of all of these terms in very simple, plain English, without going into too much details, just to give us a perspective and high-level understanding of the overall structure. That is the purpose of the book.
Okay. So you are going to kind of explain in a very simple roadmap kind of way what our entire system is. And, the question people have that somebody says Itihas, somebody says Puran. So where is it? Where does it fit in? And you have got 18 Puranas and you have got 4 Vedas and you have got 6 Shastras. So where do they fit in? Okay. All right. That makes sense. And when is this coming out?
Pretty soon, meaning I would say maybe a month or so.
Maybe. Okay. And what were the main sources that you studied over last 3 years for this particular book?
There are a lot of references I can give. Of course, there is a person called Satawalekar. He has written commentaries on Veds. Then Chitra Shastri, he has written some more of translations of different Veds. Very, very informative and very good books he has published. And then again, talking to a lot of different people, going through a lot of generic books or commonly available books. YouTube, one of the friends all of us have. Good and bad friend, but we have to be careful with YouTube. But yeah, those are many sources actually.
And when I look at this tree that you are showing on the screen right now, and also as a common person, whatever I have heard from my childhood about Itihas and Puran and all those things. So there are some very popular, you can say, books or knowledge bases which have got a big influence on a typical Indian mind. Let us say, Chanakya's Arthashastra. So everybody has heard about it, everybody knows about it. Where does that fit in this whole scheme of things? For
Great.
example.
Right. No, that's a great question. As I said, all these things have been evolving. So the foundation we can always find in one of the Veds, but Veds or Upaveds or whatever way you look at it. But then people have continuously elaborated it. It has continued to evolve. People have tried to apply that knowledge in their current scenarios, current society, and so on. So if you look at work of Panini, work of Chanakya, work of Charaka, work of Sushruta, work of anybody for that matter, you will find roots. In some cases, you will find direct roots. In some cases, it is indirect, right? So you cannot clearly say that Chanakya, Kautilya Arthashastra has come from such and such way. That we may not be able to directly show. But for Sushrut and Charak and all, we can say, yeah, it came from Ayurveda. Ayurveda relates to most commonly Atharva Ved, little bit Rigved. But yeah, we can draw straight connections in some cases. In some cases, we cannot.
Okay. And another question I'll ask before we move forward in the same line, because I know that you are also learning our Indian music for quite some time now. So our classical music system, the Saregama, and based on that, all the thoughts and rags and everything, do they also trace their lineage to any of the Vedas?
Yes. So one of the fundamental aspect of Samaveda is all the Samavedic mantra are sung. They are sung in different ways. And there is very elaborate description about how to chant a specific mantra, the intonation. Now, in today's awareness, we only know 3 intonations. Okay, Udatta, Anudatta, and Swarita. But there is a mention of there being 7 intonations. Unfortunately, we have lost those, and maybe there are some people who know all 7. But whatever information I gathered, there are only 3 that are available today. But those mantras are sung, and that is where the origin of singing and swara and tal and all those things, you can find the roots in Samaveda or Samavedic tradition of chanting or singing mantras in specific way. And that also, I want to add one more point, very important for all of us to know. When you say mantra, there is a very specific way in which it is supposed to be chanted. The most popular Gayatri mantra you see on radio or different artists, they sing that in different tunes. Technically, it is not right. If there is a shlok, yeah, you can sing it, chant it whichever way you want. But mantra has specific way in which it needs to be recited. There is a very specific mechanism, specific pronunciation, intonation, all those things. So it is not right that a lot of mantras or even a lot of hymns are sung in different ways in modern time. It's not accepted or it's not permitted.
Not a good thing at all. Absolutely. It can twist the meaning altogether. And frankly, Paragji, I think even for shlokas, it's very difficult to. I mean, people put it in music and have this, alaps and all kinds of things to make it beautiful. But Sanskrit is so sensitive to grammar, rasva, dirgha, and all those things. If you start twisting it for your musical convenience, it's going to
Right.
it's going to be a disaster. There's no doubt about that. But anyway, be that as it may. So as we come to the end of our time, I want to give some time to people to make any comments or questions. But before that, I would request you to give some concluding remarks for our audience. And I'll be publishing this later on in our YouTube. And I'll give Paragji's contact details, the book names, and anything else you want to know from Paragji. I'll be providing all that information to all of you. So Paragji, over to you for your concluding remarks.
Thank you. So today's session was very interesting because if you hear any of my other YouTube discussions, those were very focused on one topic. This was very open-ended, and it is good because it helped me express different aspects. It hopefully help you all to understand different aspects or different contexts. And of course, in questions, we might get some more questions and we might go into some details. But as a concluding remark, if I have to say a couple of points which we discussed. One is we need to take pride in what we have, in our heritage, in our culture, in our literature and everything. That is first part. And second part is all of us need to make an attempt to contribute. Those who speak Marathi, what we call khari chawata, right? So in our own way, yes, we may not be able to, dig the mountains or anything, but yeah, just like, take one mantra, one shlok, one book, one grantha, whatever, understand it, interpret it properly, see what it means to us in our life, and try to propagate that knowledge. And that will be the best thing we can contribute and give back to our heritage, our culture.
And I will add to that, Paragji, that each one of us may not be, equipped with the time or the resources to do this individually. So that is where we can also form groups. Say that, there are 10 people in our Vitthal Mandir team who want to study Jnaneshwari. There are 5 people who want to go a little deeper into Haripat. And we are absolutely happy to, form such groups. If you see on the screen right now, our Mandir's Bridavakya is from Tukaram Maharaj, Ekameka Sahaya Karu Avge Dharu Supantha. So that's what we are all here to achieve. And in any way, American system, all of you know, and one of the most, lovely things that I experienced about America is the public libraries and the book reading clubs that they have there. And it will be a wonderful thing if we can form some clubs in our own way for reading these books under the guidance of people like Paragji who can explain us the meanings and other things. Let us definitely do that. So with this, I will open it up for any comments and questions. Can you please raise your hand so that I can unmute Shobhanaji?
थँक्यू. आताच आपण शास्त्रीय संगीताबद्दल बोललो की सामवेदातनं आलो, पण त्याच्यात पुढे म्युझिक थेरपी पण इव्हॉल्व झालेली आहे आणि ती वेदापासूनच झालेली आहे. आपण जे श्लोक म्हणतो, शब्दांचे उच्चार करतो, त्याच्या मागे थेरपीच असते, आपल्याला माहित नसतं. पण आता ही थेरपी व्यवस्थित त्यांनी रूप घेतलेलं आहे इतर ठिकाणी आणि भारतात. पण त्याबद्दल जर कोणी जाणकार असेल तर आपल्या सगळ्यांना आवडेल ऐकायला.
जरूर जरूर जरूर. आपली ऍक्च्युली बोलणी चालूच आहेत आता काही फार सिनियर लोकांची आयुर्वेद आणि रिलेटेड क्षेत्रात. तुमचा मुद्दा मी नक्कीच लक्षात ठेवेन आणि त्याच्यामध्ये ऍड करेन.
धन्यवाद.
अजून
त्या मंत्रांच्या उच्चारामधनं शरीरामध्ये जी ओके आय एम सॉरी आय जस्ट स्विच बॅक टू So all the mantras and things that we chant, through chanting, the vibrations that are created in the body, those are beneficial to different organs or different parts of the body. And there has been a lot of research done. Some is scientific research, some is practical statistical research to show which mantra benefits which condition or which organ. And that's one of the reasons why it is not good idea to just randomly sing a mantra. Because if we chant it in given way, then only those vibrations are generated and we get those benefits.
अपार्ट फ्रॉम श्लोकास, आपण जे 7 नोट्स आहेत म्युझिकचे, ते पण आपल्या शरीरावर काम करतात थेरपीचं, आणि त्या दृष्टीने पण इथे भारतात बरीच प्रगती झालेली आहे.
Yes,
तुम्ही काय प्रश्न विचारायचा होता?
हा प्रश्न म्हणजे मला हा खूपच इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक वाटला आजच्या ह्याचा. आणि परागजींनी जे सांगितलं पुरुष सुक्तातला पहिला श्लोक, तर त्याच धर्तीवर आपल्या म्हणजे आपण हिंदूंमध्ये म्हणतो की 33 कोटी देव आहेत. तर हे 33 कोटी देव पेक्षा 33 फॉर्म्स आहेत ज्यांना आपण देव म्हणतो, असा त्याचा अर्थ मी वाचला होता कुठेतरी. तो मला सगळ्यांच्या बरोबर शेअर करायचा आहे. किंवा असं म्हणतो की श्रीकृष्णाने 16,000 बायकांशी लग्न केलं, की तसा अर्थ न घेता 16,000 ज्या कमी म्हणजे काय कमकुवतपणा जो नारीमध्ये असतो, त्या प्रवृत्तीशी त्यांनी लग्न करून त्याला आधार दिला. तर अशा टाईपचं हे आपण शेअर केलं तर याचा जास्ती उपयोग होईल नवीन जनरेशनच्या मुलांना सुद्धा, आणि एकूणच आपली संस्कृती चांगली आहे, थोर आहे, याच्याबद्दल सांगायला, शेअर करायला.
नक्की नक्की. आपल्या अमेरिकेतल्या आपल्या मुलांच्या शाळेमधले असलेला आम्ही स्वतः ऐकलेलं आहे मुलांशी, की मुलांना शाळेत प्रश्न विचारले, काय युअर रिलिजन हॅज गॉट सम गॉड नोज 33 मिलियन गॉड, व्हॉट इज दिस? आणि आपल्या मुलांना काही उत्तर देता येत नाही आणि खूप हे नर्वसनेस येतो. आपण त्यांना हे सगळं शिकवायलाच पाहिजे व्यवस्थित.
म्हणजे आपण बैलाला देव मानतो, आपण नागाला देव मानतो, आपण पिंपळाला देव मानतो, आपण वडाला देव मानतो. सगळ्या जे वेगवेगळे फॉर्म्स आहेत नेचरमध्ये, वी वर्शिप देम आणि वी कन्सिडर देम ॲज इम्पॉर्टंट ॲज गॉड. सो हे आपल्याला पटवून देता आलं पाहिजे.
आपल्याकडे 2 मिनिटं आहेत. वैशालीजी विचारतात काहीतरी.
मला ज्ञानेश्वरी शिकायला नक्कीच आवडेल. आय मीन आय वुड बी इंटरेस्टेड इन दॅट.
अच्छा, कारण आपण गीता पठण वगैरे करतो, तर ज्ञानेश्वरी सुद्धा आपल्या ग्रुपमध्ये आता पण मला दिसतंय आपले जे अटेंडीज आहेत आज, त्यांच्यातले काहींनी ज्ञानेश्वरीचं पारायण केलेलं आहे.
आणि एक सॉरी टू कट यू, एक दुसरी गोष्ट परागनी जे म्हटलं मगाशी, त्यांनी म्हटलं की बरेचदा लोक विचारतात की आपल्याला म्हणजे व्हॉट इज गीता फॉर मी, मला त्याच्यात काय, व्हॉट डू आय हॅव इन इट. तर एक मी आय थिंक आय हॅड मेन्शन्ड इट टू पराग अर्लियर ऑल्सो, एक कुलकर्णी, आय थिंक विनायक कुलकर्णींचं एक पुस्तक आहे दैनंदिन जीवनात गीता, विच इज अ व्हेरी त्याच्यात म्हणजे आपल्या दररोजच्या ह्याच्यात हाऊ कॅन यू रिलेट सर्टन थिंग्स फ्रॉम देअर टू व्हॉट वी एक्सपिरियन्स. आणि परागचं अनालिसिस, आय मीन द इंटरप्रिटेशन, द वे ही हॅज टेकन द सायंटिफिक अँगल, नॉट द स्पिरिच्युअल or the religious angle, is what we need for today's generation, because today's generation is all about but why. That is what we keep hearing from the kids these days. So I think that is something. Nadkar.
Okay. Parag,
I have read his book, Purush Sukta. It's an amazing, it's a very different perspective, and it was very interesting to read. And I really appreciate that.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
दत्तात्रेयजी विचारा.
धन्यवाद. मला फक्त एवढंच सांगायचं होतं की मी पुण्यातनं आहे, तर पुण्यामध्ये एक म्युझिक थेरपी करणारे एक गृहस्थ आहेत. म्हणजे मगाशी ज्यांनी प्रश्न विचारला होता त्यांच्याच माहिती करता सांगतो. आणि दुसरं, आता जे गीतेचं जे म्हणलं ना, गीता कशी जीवनात उतरावी, याच्याबद्दल गोविंददेव गिरींचं हे आहे. आणि माझ्याकडे एक
बरोबर.
शॉर्ट मधलं एक 2 मिनिटाचा व्हिडिओ वगैरे पण आहे. जर मला अलाउ म्हणजे मी कोणाला पाठवला की तो ग्रुपवरती येईल.
आपली विठ्ठल मंदिराची ईमेल आहे namaste@vithalmandirus.org.
मी ईमेल वापरत नाही, व्हॉट्सअप वरती
व्हॉट्सअपवर चालेल. हो
टाकला तर
हो,
ग्रुपवरती
पण तुम्ही या ग्रुपवर आहात ना व्हॉट्सअपच्या?
हो आहे ना.
हा, मग त्याचा नंबर मी पाठवतो सगळ्यांना.
हा चालेल, मी तो पाठवतो. एक 2च मिनिटाचा व्हिडिओ आहे आणि त्यांची बरीच पुस्तकं आहेत. गोविंददेव गिरी म्हणून आहे.
हो, माहिती आहे, सगळ्यांनाच माहिती राहतात ते तर. एस्पेशली आपल्या राम मंदिराच्या कामापासून ते तर सगळ्यांच्या समोर आले खूप.
आणि मोदींचा उपवास त्यांनी सोडवला होता.
चला परागजी, धन्यवाद, खूप छान माहिती दिलीत आणि आपण आपलं संभाषण चालू ठेवू.
Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful session. Thanks everybody. I had a great time with all of you. Have a great rest of the time.
थँक्यू. चला, जय हरी विठ्ठल.
जय हरी.